Welcome back. Today I'm going to be starting the Diablo 2 mod playthrough. So I'm going to be playing on hardcore. I'm going to be playing my own personal mod. I will eventually share this mod, but I don't expect it to be a big deal for a community or anything like that. And I'm going to be playing the Sorceress. She is one of the more fleshed out characters within the mod. And we'll talk about the mod as we go. So let's come up with a name for this character. And let's go. If you've never played Diablo 2, this is going to be a weird experience if you're watching this. So by default, characters typically start out with just a little bit of something here. This staff has Firebolt. So some changes that have happened in this mod. That was a lucky ow. You'll notice I have very little health. Characters now are a little bit more agnostic to their health pool. So this character's vitality stat is 10, and so she has reduced health. Also, my mana pool is huge, which is nice, but Firebolt requires an attack rating. And it shares attack rating globally because there's not a lot of easy fixes to do that. Isolate attack rating on missiles. Just going to beat some stuff up here, get some starting items here. None of that is useful. So item drops have been changed just ever so slightly. A lot of the smaller effects are just gone entirely. I feel like they're kind of a wasted space. For me personally, I've played a lot of Diablo 2 back in the day, and I've modded Diablo 2 for a decade. Just playing around here and there. So my staff has the same chance of hitting as my firebolt. And since enemies do quite a bit of damage in relationship to my health, I probably don't want to be hitting things with my staff too often. But since I have a higher mana pool, I can do quite a few things. I'm about to die. Potions are slightly nerfed. They no longer take into consideration class bonuses. So Barbarian used to get more healing out of a healing potion, and the Sorceress used to get more healing out of a mana potion. But that has been removed in this mod. So if I hover a healing potion, I do believe it's something like 1/8 plus 20 or something like that. I think that's what I settled on for the light potion or the minor potion. So I'm going to take that first point of warmth. Here's one of the big changes right here. One of the base changes for the sorceress. The spell of warmth is a passive that gives you mana regeneration. And in Diablo 2, mana regeneration isn't like a lot of other games that I've played. Mana regeneration in Diablo 2 is a time-based percentage of your pool. So the base rate is over 120 seconds, you'll regenerate your whole pool. So 73 over 120 seconds. But I have changed this to be a little weaker up front in the percentage category. So instead of having the base percentage of 100%, we have the base percentage of more or less 1.15. So we get a little bit of regen, but we also get 1 per second guaranteed, which is not normally how that works. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this was I want to use more open skills, or O skills as they called them, on different items. Eventually, I want to have just a little bit of control over some mana regeneration options. And warmth, being the primary ability that gives any form of mana regeneration, gives me that kind of control. But it also means that normally you'd get something like, oh, 0.8 or 0.9 from the first level at this amount of mana pool. But you normally don't have this big of a mana pool. Normally it's like 30, 35, something like that. However, this spell also costs quite a bit more. So Firebolt is using the Diablo 1 cost. This might be a very dangerous place to be. Okay. Is there another route through here? There we go. Pull them away from the Resurrector. The Shaman. If you're not familiar with these Fallen, they love to run around. Every time you kill one of their friends, they will run away. And the Shamans resurrect them and also shoot fireballs. Might actually be a firebolt. Not that it matters that much. Normally, it wouldn't hurt too much, but when you only have 20 health, that changes a little bit. So the stats are changed a little bit. Again, agnostic to class, so to say. Stats are now 3 health per vitality and 1.5 mana per energy, or I'll call it magic to be consistent with the original Diablo 1. It functions a little more like magic in Diablo 1, where if you actually upgrade your energy, you do get a percentage bonus to your spell damage. Ow. So you can see that these things hurt. They hit pretty hard. I should probably level up just for the sake of having some health. There's 15 health, pretty big change there. I'm going to do it again just for the sake of having health again. So another change that has happened with the health and mana is, let's kill Corpse Fire here so I can not have to pay attention to my health randomly jumping straight down. Is that every time you level up, you get the equivalent of 3 stat points for free. So normally it was some kind of ratio that Blizzard North had decided. But I have gone through and I've made it so that basically it's just a ratio. So this character gains effectively the equivalent of 1 vitality and 2 energy per level, or something close to that. So I'm getting about 3 mana and just a few enemies left in here. They don't have any strength. That's damaged. That's useless. That's probably useless. That won't sell for anything. Here, well, I'm just going to go sell some stuff here. So every character gets effectively 3 stats worth of health and mana with the change that I've done. Okay. The other thing is most things sell for absolutely nothing. And aside from these arrows, that is also funny. Aside from the arrows, I'm probably not going to be able to make a whole lot of money from selling stuff. So that was a sash of frailty. And so I have added some of the Diablo 1 negative effects into the game. When an item has a negative effect, it actually has a Let's see if this has a level requirement on it. There we go. Got the opposite. Sash of Frailty and Sash of Strength. So normally a lot of weapons and armors have a level requirement. Here we go, level 4. If you have something with a negative stat like this, negative to strength, yet it negates your strength or your energy or your dexterity or your vitality. But it also reduces the level requirement of the item. It also reduces the sell value of the item. So it's a double-edged sword, but I really like having some explicit negative effects like that. It's, I think, fun. So I am actually going to go to Charge Bolt. We'll go back down here and finish off the 4 little dudes in here. We've got some leather gloves, a short bow, some other stuff. So if this wand had some skills on it, it might actually be worth selling. It does not. So what does this stat change accomplish? The 3 stats per level, so to say. It means that while your character still gets 5 stats per level, the 5 stats are an offset to the 3 stats that you're forced into. Now, I can't give the character direct vitality or energy, but I can give them the life and the mana. So it does mean that different classes will have effectively a sort of, well, all classes will have it effectively kind of a forced stat system. Now, the base game had this already. It just wasn't as probably nitpicky as what I'm doing. There we go. So I guess I'll just go back. The first quest was just to cleanse the Den of Evil. There have been various games that have copied this as a reference or joke. That seems good. Okay, so another thing I mentioned in my previous video was that there are a lot more ethereal items. I'm actually going to equip this, put this back here. So 1 mana per kill is nice, even if I'm not going to use the bow. And I would love to use a buckler and like a wand, not a wand, but something similar. An orb of some form. So she gave us a skill point, actually. We don't have a waypoint. I'm going to be just kind of maxing out Charge Bolt here. Notice that Charge Bolt does not actually feed into these other spells. So this is more of a Diablo 2 previous to 2003. In 2003, there was a major update to the game, which added synergies. I haven't removed the text for a lot of these, but their values are 0, so they don't show up underneath the green text there. So back in the day, you leveled up skills, and that was it. No respecialization, no synergies, nothing. You just dealt with it. And while I don't have a solution for every aspect of this, the respecialization is still in the game. By doing the Den of Evil, you actually unlock your first respec. It undoes all your stats that you've placed and all of the skills that you've placed. And I feel like the respecialization actually kind of solves part of the problem already. By just having it in there, you have the ability to have an early game build and a late game build that you just change up. And I know speedrunners and challenge runners do this already. So no, I don't have a problem personally going back to kind of this patch 9, pre-patch 10 system. Another short bow. Nothing wrong with using some arrows from time to time. I don't have any, but oof. He's lightning enchanted, and I'm shooting lightning at him. So this is going to be fun. So some old school Diablo 2 stuff is that you can actually kind of shotgun these charge bolts at stuff. In the original game, you are limited to 24 of them. Oh, man. And I'm not anywhere close to that right now. I don't know how to kill this thing right now. I am not strong enough to fight it. Also, not sure why it's right there. So I'm walking here so I can regain my stamina here. There we go. Every character has a base stamina now. You don't get more unless you equip items with it. It's just 100, so everything's kind of a ratio of 100%. I don't know if I can actually beat this thing down. We will try. Okay, there we go. You generally do not want to beat something down if it is lightning enchanted, because it will kill you in melee range unless you have a really good amount of lightning resistance. Get off me. And since I am playing on permadeath, I absolutely do not want to get in melee range of that thing. So we found a ring. Beautiful. I like that. We're just going to dump a bunch of points in strength, and we can put this on. So we'll be able to equip some better armor now. Since my attack rating affects my spells now, like that, the sorceress is now kind of a dual stat character. She always was, but it just didn't really add up to anything, really. She had high dexterity. I have put nothing in dexterity. You can see that she has high dexterity here. I don't remember what the exact amount was that she started with. It was the same 25 in vanilla unmodded. But this means that she does rely on a little bit of dexterity, but more so just the attack rating, depending on what she wants to use. I believe I have the mod updated for this edition. If I find a staff in the wild, it will give attack rating bonuses. So you don't have to rely entirely on dexterity, but it's not just going to guarantee hits either. These changes also massively buff armor in general, because it means that armor actually controls being hit by spells. Just kind of like, sort of like, not quite, Diablo 1. Diablo 1 used a different kind of formula, but it was monster level versus your magic stat, which they called it energy here because it doesn't work the same. I'm going to charge bolt again. So something to note is that the mana cost on this is not going up. I have some strong opinions on mana costs, and I'll be doing a video on that if I can ever get to it. But I feel like most situations of an increase in cost should be more explicit and less granular. And so a lot of spells in the original Diablo 2 actually go up in a fourth of a point of mana per cast, or a full point, or a half point. And this meant that leveling up often broke your kind of cadence with your abilities and your capacity to actually finish something off. So if you needed 2 hits to kill it and leveling up didn't kill it faster, then you're just spending extra mana. Eventually, I'm going to try to remove all the damaged items from the game. Since I have negative magic weapons, I figure I can just kind of put that in there instead. I think it's more interesting than just simply being damaged. Having a negative strength item or a negative movement speed item, that kind of stuff. Since I do have a reliance to some degree on the dexterity of this class, I can go staff wielder. I can go more of a bow user. Um, or I can go show pure spells. It also means that skills like frozen armor will actually be a little bit more interesting in that perspective, because again, armor is more valuable if spells now hit against it. And my logic for this change is a couple different reasons. One, you can kind of see this happen in some other games like Grim Dawn and Path of Exile, although it is structured a little bit differently. It is similar. In Grim Dawn, you have defensive ability, which decides whether or not you're hit. And in Path of Exile, you have evasion. Just complete evasion. So, and I might butcher some mechanics in Path of Exile. I haven't played it nearly as much as some other Diablo likes. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all abilities can be evaded, generally. I know there's probably exceptions to every rule, but that would be the idea. So, having high defensive rating or defensive ability, DA, in Grim Dawn means that you're getting hit less, while armor in Grim Dawn reduces physical damage. Similar in Path of Exile, armor also reduces physical damage, and evade, well, can evade things, like everything. So you can see that this bow with just +1 mana after each kill is actually quite good. Because as long as I can kill, even just with arrows, it's helpful. Now this might be a dangerous place to be if you've ever fought Rakinishu, which I recently found from someone else's stream that Rakinishu actually is a reference to someone at Blizzard sneezing, saying that they had a very funny sneeze. Something like that. Oh boy. This might be my death. I have made a mistake. I don't know where he went. He decided to run away. My gosh. So Rakinishu, I believe, is something like level 5 and is lightning enchanted. Might be a little bit lower level. He might be only like level 4. He is extremely fast, so I did reduce run speed in this mod. We may want to just avoid Rakinishu here. Don't know that we can. So I am actually going to start increasing my pool here. So by increasing my pool, I have also increased my regen, which I'm not sure a lot of people knew back in the day. Unless you played a lot of Diablo, I don't know that a lot of people knew how the mechanics actually worked. I know I didn't. I didn't know all of them, especially. We got a little lucky with Rakinishu taking his distance. I think, like other Devilkin, he just runs away every time something dies. So we were able to trick him with other enemies nearby dying. I'm going to go to town. So this is going to be a really common thing. This is going to be something I'm going to have to fix. These negative attributes are actually really common because there's not a lot of stuff in the item pool, and they actually sell for normal values. So both of those are actually just incomplete issues. Oh, come on. So attack takes damage of 5 is actually extremely powerful early on. And I can't wear this because it's druid only, but I can sell it. And Sash of 3 strength. Good stuff. And that wasn't even worth somehow the scroll that I used. That's disappointing. Not uncommon for Diablo 1 stuff to be like that, and I am mimicking Diablo 1 in that sense, so something to expect in this mod. Can I afford this? Yes. I'm going to go grab a pair of boots if I can. Extra gold, extra defense, -6 to dexterity. Faster hit recovery would be very good. Highly suggest if you've never played Diablo 2 to always get faster hit recovery on at least one item early on, like a belt or a chest piece, whether you're playing the mod or not. That is an extremely valuable stat. Oh yeah, something else. Belts. I made belts no longer give armor, so they don't give any aspect of armor to your character. They are more like an accessory similar to the amulet or the rings. I cannot afford the extra gold from monsters' boots, which is funny, I guess. Let's get this in here. Let's go ahead and put a socket in that. Skull cap costs quite a bit. So I haven't rebalanced this per se, but I do want to make it so that different items have kind of some different costs here. So this skull cap costs a base of 354, and this costs 49, which those are some pretty different costs. It's going to take some tedium to ever figure anything like that out, though. Let's go for the five boots. So as this is a personal mod, it is also a sort of constantly evolving purpose. Originally, it was very much just personal. I was never going to share it with anybody. Then I decided to share it with a few people. Then I decided maybe I'll release it one day. And then I decided, no, that'll tie me to modding this game too much. So I don't want to be, so to say, stuck in modding a single game forever. So if I release this mod, or when I release this mod, it is meant to just be, hey, here you go, you can have fun with it. So earlier I was saying I'm going to start pumping up my energy. Something's fast. And part of the reason I'm going to be pumping it up is because I want to be able to just carpet the world with lightning here. But the other thing to note is that because I've increased the cost of this spell to 6, uh, it caps out sooner. So originally it costs like 3 and it goes up by, I think, like 0.25. And that hurt. And a reminder, I am still playing on hardcore. So anything that deals significant amounts of damage is very scary. You also get staggered if it deals a certain amount of percentage of your health pool. So it would originally, this ability would cost, say, 3, I think. And then it would go up in cost as you continued to move through the game and level it up. But now, since it costs 6, it's more expensive up front. But part of my idea on this is that it gives you a goal. It gives you a rhythm. It gives you a purpose to get to a certain point where if I can maintain that 6 mana cost, what is this? Too bad that does not affect him. Please die. Okay. One extra hit there probably would have been the end of this character's life. I don't really need the strength here. Might be handy for some different armor, but I don't really need the strength. So what is my attack rating here? So you can see that I have an 88% chance to hit with my charge bolts. But yeah, so part of the reason I'm pumping up the energy is to get more mana. Part of the reason I'm pumping up the energy is also that it gives more damage. So currently it is set up to be 12.5% or 1/8 as a ratio per 100. And that's per energy, not mana. So if you get an item that says plus mana on it, it does not give bonus damage. But if you get an item that says plus energy on it, it does effectively give bonus damage. That is actually using the synergy system that originally was released in version 10. I'm just using it in a different way. And it does count the stats from gear. So if I go up to here, we're almost at 6% enhanced damage on this ability. And I know 6% doesn't sound like much. It isn't. It really isn't. It's an incremental stat. But it gives you an option to do some different things. You may not want the extra damage for the cost of that many stats, but it gives a small amount of boost overall from other gear that you might find in the world and stuff like that. And this number 1/8 is actually calculated off of Firebolt in Diablo 1. It's not a perfect calculation. It's just kind of an idea estimate. And abilities that still do have synergies still also take into this effect. They are multiplicative with the bonus from the energy stat. Not sure how I feel about that. I might change that because that means abilities with synergies could be potentially less energy dependent for some damage. And I don't want the number to be too high. 12.5% is pretty good. But if it's too high, then it becomes kind of a necessity. I want to avoid the necessity aspect of it. Now, there is a necessity to keeping your pool functional, and that necessity I do want to keep. Something I have not yet done with this mod is that originally I wanted to make it so that bows had durability, And I've never found any situation where that actually works. Tried some different structures in the data files. Never found that it actually work. So anyone out there knows how to change bows to be durability like Diablo 1, that'd be awesome. And part of the reason I want that is because I want bows to be repairable. Because if bows are repairable, then the cost of bows is similar to the cost of other weapons. The repairing tax, if you will, is maintained across weapon types. Ranged weapons in Diablo 2 and various other games in general sometimes outperform melee weapons. This just depends on the game, of course. It's kind of like the balance of two-handed versus one-handed weapons. There's just always that little corner case or change in playstyle that just makes it so that one is definitely hardcore favored more than the other in the sense of value for its balance. Now, I'm not saying melee sucks in Diablo 2, but it definitely costs more time and dedication in certain circumstances for gear and what difficulty you're on and things like that. Because you're getting hit. So you need better armor, which means you have to sacrifice something for better armor. It also means that your damage isn't increasing with your skill points. So my skill points give me damage here. You'll notice that I'm getting 1 bolt and 1 max damage per level. Not much here. But yeah, I want to eventually, there is a way to actually remove arrows from the equation. I'm going to try to do that. It might require me to equip arrows and still be able to fire infinitely, but I'd prefer a durability system, at least for this game. Because it means that bows could potentially be ethereal if they have durability, which could also be really fun because I like ethereal items. The ethereal items give 50% bonus base value to a given item. So if it's armor, it gets defense. If it's a weapon, it gets damage. Let's chug a stamina potion. So having a bow that does 50% more damage in the early game before any other modifiers is something I can definitely get behind because it's just interesting. I'm going to beat a dead horse here and talk about chunky values. I like chunky values. I think that items in many ARPGs like Diablo do not give chunky enough values. Diablo 4 has been accused of having damage on Tuesdays because you get a modifier that does 5% bonus damage, but only when the target is slowed, and another 5% damage, but only when the target is stunned, and another when you're in melee range, and another when you're in long range, and just a lot of 5% bonuses. And a lot of those 5% bonuses are probably multiplicative. So if you're really playing the numbers game, a lot of those probably actually are good. But from a player perspective, we're not all wanting to do number crunching or really care about a 5% bonus. And I would rather see more, and by chunky values, I mean functionally decision making values. Now, there are incremental values, and they're not bad or wrong. But I think a lot of games get too into the incremental values sometimes in ways that just don't lead to anything. So you'll notice I have a 10% faster cast rate. That's a chunky value to me. I don't have any identify scrolls. I'm also struggling for gold. Sellback value on all items has been reduced quite a bit in this mod. So actually one of the best things to sell is arrows and gems. Go figure. Which is another reason why I think I may just make arrows infinite and just remove the system that is functionally there. Because, oh, yes. Yes, that is amazing. So the life stolen per hit only works on physical damage, but the mana per kill, 2 mana per kill, I've now got 3 total. There's an early game rune that also can give 2. You can put in a helmet and very quickly create a very powerful helmet for a wizard mage character. Get more damage here. Just slightly more damage. So I'm looking for a tree with a bunch of dudes guarding it. I don't have a helmet. That's a problem, isn't it? Let's go buy a helmet and sell some stuff. So I'm looking for a tree that will help me open a portal, which will help me find Deckard Cain. And once I find Deckard Cain, I will get a ring. And also he'll be able to identify my items for free. Actually going to put that on my backside here. So here's an example of chunky values. Attacker takes damage of 2 is not very chunky, and I probably should remove that from the game, personally. I'm not a huge fan of that. 2 is okay. It actually will kill a lot of early enemies, especially if you start stacking it. Attacker takes damage of 8, attacker takes damage of 5. So you can see that I'm stacking quite a bit of it, and it will actually kill a lot of enemies in melee range, which is where I'm scared. So here we go. 4% mana stolen per hit, 17 attack rating, not a very chunky number, and 14% enhanced damage. Again, not a very chunky number. So this weapon is probably like 6 to 13 damage, and then the 14% damage bonus gives it +1 max damage. And I believe enhanced damage always gives a minimum of +1 max. So that roll is really just +1 max with 17 attack rating. It's not great. Not terrible. It's not necessarily bad game design. It doesn't feel good to the player, which you might be able to claim as bad game design. Some players like the numbers, though. I just think things should be a little bit more, not necessarily predictable, just bigger, fatter. Let's see here. Like this. +3 a weekend. +3 to a skill is chunky. That's huge. I mean, +1 to a skill is pretty good. +3 to a skill, awesome. That feels great. I don't want some linear, bland +1, +1, +1, +1, +1 as I move through the game. Instead, I want something that has a bit of meaning, has a bit of decision, especially in a game like Diablo. Diablo is almost entirely the macro game, more so than where you stand, at least these old ones. Okay, so that actually has more armor to it. I'm going to take that. So I just sold a belt of strength. That might have actually helped me get this armor here for 25 armor, but I already have 23. So the 25 versus the 23, not a significant difference. It's not something that you should ever really care about, I think. I think you shouldn't have to care about it, I guess is the best way to put that. I was talking about hit recovery. There is a hit recovery belt here. I am going to grab it. I'm actually going to take these gloves if I can afford them. The gold bonus is great, but I want the gloves. So being able to choose between something like 10% fire resist 10% fire resist is probably pretty good. It's 10% damage reduction. But how many enemies use fire in the first area? I mean, if I found it right now, how many enemies use fire damage? It's just the shaman. Shaman are the only things that use fire damage. So if you're not getting hit by their fireballs, there is a dude right there. Could not see him in the trees. Oh boy. My attack rating. Okay. So 10% might feel good on a mathematical level, spreadsheet math, spreadsheet games. But you know what feels really good? 25%. Because then I can say I'm done. You know, I found the thing I'm looking for. I've got some fire resistance, and now I'm just done for the moment. I don't need to think about this anymore. And of course, you're eventually going to want to have 75% fire resistance in a game like Diablo or Path of Exile or whatever. You're looking to cap out eventually. But that's part of the design. You're trying to figure out how to fit it into your kit. What items, especially, you know, if you're not just going straight to a planner. Which, of course, tons of people do, and that's totally okay. But yeah, you know, just being able to find an item. So that's 49% enhanced defense, for example. 49% enhanced defense sounds awesome. It's probably one or two there. One or two armor. And in the early game, one or two armor can matter. This experience shrine that I have over my head, that's an experience shrine. It gives 50% bonus experience while it's on you. 50%. That's chunky. That's amazing. And I know some people just like hunt these shrines down just so that they can do farming runs, especially when they're looking for like later game deep hard leveling or something. You know, and everyone plays differently, of course, too. Like some people are playing Diablo 2 in a group or not in a group or borderline botting or actual botting. How many bolts do we have? 8. 8 bolts. We are level 7. And the enemies in this area are probably also about level 7. I don't know what it was about topazes, but the fact that they give that ability to, you know, 9% extra magic find or that 8 max damage lightning. For whatever reason, that always excites me. Way more than a ruby. Oh boy. Potions heal over like 2 or 3 seconds now. So they're relatively instant, not quite. This also makes them turn off effectively. When you hit max health or max mana, your potions actually turn off. Overhealing is prevented this way. I don't know if that was intentional or if that's just how it works. And in other words, I just don't know how much thought went into it. It might have just been a decision that they did and moved on. So chip sapphires are also pretty fun. So I can put that into like a bow and suddenly have cold damage. Cold slowing. This is the tree I was looking for. You can see I am not running out of mana very often, because I have a lot of points into it now. I definitely need more health because I don't want any more scares. I'm probably going to have a lot more scares. I'm going to go to town. She's now translated this. And you don't actually have to care about those. You can just play this how most people in Diablo 2 seem to play it. Walk up to the stones and press them at random. I am going to grab this. Frozen armor. So I did skip Blood Raven. I don't really care about Blood Raven that much. I did recently find out that she's a level 10 boss in an area that's like level 2. Which is why she sucks to hit with weapons and versus spells in the base game. Because the attack rating formula takes level difference into effect. Something to note about this mana per kill type ring. I am the type of player that really enjoys being able to find something and keep it forever. Because it's good. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's good. Like I said, that whole fire resist thing. 25% fire resist. Okay, I've got that taken care of. My mana pool issues, 1 point of warmth, I've got that taken care of. Large enough pool, cheap enough spell, I got that taken care of. Because every time I kill one of these dudes, I'm getting 3 back. Eventually, I probably should stop picking up the mana potions and focus on more health potions, actually. Surprised at how many mana potions are dropping. So if you're new to Diablo 2, this area is probably pretty scary. My mod is definitely scarier. This head is ethereal, so I don't think it's probably worth much. While the frost armor doesn't give a whole lot of defense, it does give the freezing effect. Deckard Cain! Ooh, an eagle orb. Not helpful this run. Can't quite click on that guy. Okay, we will save Cain, and we will clean up this area, and then we will call it quits. Diablo is not a fast-paced game, at least not at this point in the game for sure. We were going to attempt to not die here. Frost Enchanted. That's the guy I want. Griswold. I'm sorry, buddy. I bought all sorts of stuff from you in the other game. But you're trying to punch me now. As he gets closer, he takes more hits of the charge bolts. I'm just afraid to get hit. Oh yeah, I also want to point out, this mana cost is 35. Pretty crazy. I'm definitely using some different numbers here for kind of callbacks to Diablo 1. Clean these guys up. Okay. Did he drop a saber? Not super concerned about a saber. I might want some of these mana potions. Usually like a champion pack in here. I think I already killed them. Champions give extra gold and typically drop potions. Okay, here we go. Let's go talk to Kane. He will now identify all my items for free. Okay, what do we get? Aw, he just paid a bunch of money for that. So I can't really use any of these. And that is missing a text string. Evil Force is actually a form of cleave that is specific to some of the two-handed weapons. Just the two-handed weapons, though. And only specific two-handed weapons. This attack speed might actually be useful at some point. Although I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a rare ring. It was not. And I believe that is a bug in my drop system. And that might be useful against Andariel. I can't kill her fast enough anyways. Go sell everything. I believe she's always supposed to give us a rare ring. And gave us a magic ring. Means that there is not enough rare effects currently in my affix, my modifier pool, to spawn at the level the ring is. The ring should be a level 3. Or excuse me, the ring should be a level 7. And it has a required level of 3, but it's got a quality level of 7. So means that there's no rares being available at that level, which I need to look at. Either that or I've changed some code somewhere and made it a magic ring at all times. I don't know why I'd do that, but I know that there's code available to do that. Anyway, so here's where we're at. We've got a level 6 charge bolt. We've got a level 1 frozen armor. And we've got some basic stats going on. So started with really low health. We're moving up. And as long as we stay leveled up, our attack rating should function. Now, what I'm very curious with, I've played this mod multiple times, but I've never played it all the way through or very far with the attack rating change, where spells require attack rating. So I'm very curious to see how that feels as the game progresses. I know it's going to eventually feel probably really pretty crappy. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, I'm not the best probably at this game. I am relatively knowledgeable, and I just love the game. I love Diablo 2. And it's a game I put a lot of hours in back in the day, and here and there over the years. And no, this is not resurrected, as you probably noticed an hour ago. But the mod requires the legacy version to be able to do some of the edits that I am doing. So that is it for now. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to follow this specific mod and stuff like it. And check out some of my other mechanics videos when I get them up.